Hi everybody, this is Julianne. It is Saturday. This is Baking with Friends. We are making lemon bars today with my great friend Jennifer. And she's going to go ahead and join me momentarily. But I went ahead and say, hey Mary, I wanted to take a second before we start. I am wearing my Hamilton shirt today because I was just reminded this week, a little bit more than a week actually now, about the fundamentals of our constitutional rights. And so today, that is what the shirt is about. And we are going to go ahead and prepare the lemon bars. So we're baking at 350 degrees. You should have an 8-inch pan or a 9-inch pan. Glass pans usually work here okay. If you don't have a glass pan, aluminum pan is perfectly fine. I'm going to use my handy dandy square pan that I think has made many an appearance already on this little episodic show of ours. So I think that's Jen. I think she has joined. And we're going to hope this works, because you know, as we all know, that there's technical difficulties around.
Hey.
Hello, lady.
I figured it out.
So I was just saying to everybody, did you you figured it out? You're on.
I know. I'm proud of myself. Sorry.
Mary is on. I've got my oven preheated right now to 350 degrees. I was just talking about the pan. I line this pan with parchment paper. We don't have to necessarily grease this pan because of the fact that they're bars. You can if you'd like. Parchment paper should be good enough. You can also do like a spray really quick of like some sort of cooking spray, or a lot of people just like using butter, which is always a good idea, just to line the bottom. But there's going to be melted butter in the crust, and because there's going to be melted butter in the crust, that should help the non-stick of the parchment paper. So I literally just took parchment paper, like so, and I took my pan. Don't mind the, I think we've had this discussion before about my pan, Jen. When I bought this, it was non-stick, and I used a knife to cut some brownies in it. And I shouldn't have done that.
And you've now ruined it?
I ruined the pan, but the pan still works, guys. So
mine is a brownie pan as well.
Yeah. Whenever I need to.
Mine's probably the exact same one you have.
I just go ahead and line it with parchment paper. So I'm just going to go ahead and line this with parchment paper. I'm not going to do any frills. And then I will go ahead and show you what's happening. All right, so what we've got is we've got a two-part process today. We are doing a crust, and we are doing a lemon filling. And I was just telling Jen, my friend Jen, who I met, and I think we have now had Ruby, we have had Alex, and now Jen, all of whom went to Atlantic Conservatory with me. So,
yay!
Our New York Atlantic Theater Conservatory bit.
Okay, so I believe Catherine would be next then? Where are you,
I
Catherine?
know. I think we're just going to make the run of it, and we're just going to have everybody go.
Just get everybody in.
So I'm going to go ahead and set my pan aside that I've just put parchment paper on. And we are going to go ahead and create the crust. So again, two-step process, a crust and a filling. I was just telling Jen, I have not made these bars before. I'm going to be doing it like kind of with you today. So we are going to go ahead and do 3/4 cups all-purpose flour, half a cup of a nut flour, if you would like an almond flour, almond.
I'm going to do the non-nut variety.
Yeah, or you can do the non, and if you don't want to, you can just use another half cup of all-purpose flour. You can also use whole wheat flour if you want to use that kind of a flour as well. You can use almond flour, like there's so many different combinations you can do. But for today's purposes, I am using 3/4 cup all-purpose, half a cup almond. Jenny's using all-purpose, okay? And we're just going to go ahead and get all that stuff in a bowl, along with 1/3 cup powdered sugar. That's confectioner's sugar. And also 3 tablespoons of cornstarch. And if you don't have cornstarch at home, some people don't carry that in their own homes. You can use flour here as well, all-purpose flour. The cornstarch is going to go ahead and help the crust. But in this case scenario, if you don't have it, don't worry about it. We'll work with what we've got. So I'm going to go ahead and give you a view. Today, I am not using anything but a whisk and a spatula and a bowl. I have no other.
And I'm going to use equipment.
Jen is going to use a food processor, which if you've got the food processor, more power to you, because that will actually make this more efficient. and but I'm just gonna use the magic of my elbow grease, and we are gonna go ahead and find my whisk. And I'm gonna go ahead and show you guys a bit of the mixture. So I went ahead and mixed the almond flour. I have the regular all-purpose flour. Jen has regular all-purpose flour in hers. I'm gonna go ahead and now add a 1/3 cup of powdered sugar, and I'm just putting it directly into the bowl. Okay. And then we're also gonna add 3 tablespoons of cornstarch. That's right here. That's also going in the bowl. You like how I'm lifting everything up? Because Instagram always cuts you off at the head, and I'm going to eventually give you guys through the bowl. So
I just realized you cannot see anything that I'm probably doing with my hands, but.
And then we're going to do a 1/4 teaspoon of salt. Any salt will do. I'm just using a basic sea salt, a 1/4 teaspoon of that, and that's going also straight in the bowl. So we're just mixing everything together right now. Then I'm going to give that like a little bit of a whisk because it's all my dry ingredients. But we're going to go ahead and add to this. We are going to add a teaspoon. I can get to open my vanilla extract today. A teaspoon of vanilla, and that's going to go straight in to the bowl. And then we are going to add 1/2 cup of melted butter. Now, it can be, I just realized my butter is all the way over here.
Sorry, that was loud.
No, it's good. Jen is using a food processor, so she is just going to go ahead and blitz it. If you're with me and we're doing it by hand, I'm going to show you my bowl a little bit here. If you're with me and you're doing it by hand, if I can get you a little bit closer, let's see if I don't knock everything over today. You are just going to go ahead and dump. This is 1/2 cup of unsalted butter, and I'm just dumping that right in. I'm going to go ahead and take a spatula now. And that's melted, okay, guys? It doesn't have to be cool. I'm going to take my handy dandy spatula, and I'm just going to mix that together. Okay, and it should end up getting a little crumbly looking. You can blitz it. It can get it's like a little bit wet. You are fine until it's pretty much all gathered. So mine is wet. It's like this. It's basically a dough, right? I'm gonna take it. I have got my sheet. I'm gonna dump my dough.
You are moving way faster than me, man. I gotta catch up. And I'm using the machine. Too funny.
So it has become an actual dough. I'm going to press it uniformly into my pan. I'm just using my fingers here.
So Julianne, out of curiosity, we just got a lovely rain in Queens. Is it raining down there in Brooklyn?
Is it raining in Brooklyn?
No, it just started here. Just
cloudy.
Curious if you guys have it happening down there.
It looks cloudy, but Brooklyn right now is just windy. The skies have definitely gotten gray. That's for sure.
All right, I'm finally caught up to you. I'm making crust.
Okay. Well, I'm pressing the crust in the pan. I'm just using my fingers. It doesn't have to be. This is gonna be the bottom of the layer bars. To be honest, nobody's gonna see the bottom, guys. So if you don't press super crazily, like down onto it, and everything's uneven and not perfect, nobody's gonna know. Nobody's gonna know. Those are the beauty of like things that we're gonna put on top. I'm glad it's sunny in Oakland, Mary. So
the what?
In California, it is sunny. It is gray and dark here in New York City. Jen is in Queens. I am in Brooklyn. And I am still pressing my dough.
Likewise. So that's good because I'm catching up now.
You can also use.
Here's where I'm at.
Talked about this. Yeah, you can use the back of like a measuring cup if you want it to be a little bit flatter. If you want it to be a little bit more uniform, you can use like the back of a glass. These are all things that you can go ahead and do. But again, the dough is going to be kind of like a cookie dough, right? It's like a little bit crumbly depending on what kind of flours you're using. It could be more crumbly if you use a regular all-purpose. It could be less crumbly if you use an almond flour. That's totally okay because what it is you're just forming the dough at the bottom of your lemon bar.
think I'm almost there. Almost. Not
I know.
close, but almost.
So I said to everybody, I'm like, you don't have to be perfectionist. It's okay. You don't have to make sure it's super even. But as we do this, I'm like, I feel like this needs a little bit more on this side, and I think this needs a little bit more on this side because I can feel it.
I think this is the most time-consuming part of this recipe, honestly.
Yeah, because everything else is gonna go in a breeze. So
yeah, absolutely.
What's so fun about this too is, okay, so the butter is melted right now, guys, and I'm gonna show you a view of the bowl again. The butter is melted right now, but as I've been pressing, I can start feeling it solidify a little bit. But don't worry, because it's gonna melt right back down when we put it in the oven. Okay. And we're gonna par bake this, so it's not gonna be completely baked when we take it out. I'm using the back of a glass actually to press it down a little bit better. And again, you don't have to do that. You can just use your fingers. Okay, I think.
Oh, hey, Sherry's on there.
I think it's pretty good. I think the corners are going to be a little bit questionable.
Yeah, I'm trying to fix it.
I'm trying to. This is the part with working with dough. It's like you're trying to kind of eyeball like the level of thickness. You don't want the middle to be super thick. You don't want the ends to be super thin. But you kind of got to work with what you got. And at this point, I feel like it's not going to be perfect. And it doesn't have to be because we are baking for ourselves and we are baking at home. And it's basically your own taste, right? So
I like to call it rustic.
yes, exactly. Okay, mine's pretty good. About,
I'm going to have to let it go.
yeah,
I know.
I think I'm going to let it go because we could be doing this for hours. And I don't think we need to.
I could be doing this for an hour. Like, it's not perfect
Can you imagine if people were watching this for like an hour? They were like, all you guys
are they going to be
doing,
done yet?
It's like, I thought we were making lemon bars, not like crust for an hour. Okay. I'm going to go put this in my
So
oven.
basically all we're going to teach you is shortbread cookies.
I know. My oven's in at 350 right now. We're going to put this in for about 15 minutes. I'm going to go ahead and set my timer for about 12. I like checking mine a little bit underdone because I want to make sure that my oven, as everyone knows, I've ranted and raved about it. Everyone's ovens are different temperatures. So in recipes, it's going to give you a gauge because depending on how your oven heats, if it actually gets up to temp, those are the kinds of things that you have to watch out for. So I'm going to pop mine in the oven, 350. We're going to go for
All right, I'm going with you.
12-ish, 15 minutes or so. I'm going to quickly wash my hands. We can be sanitary, guys.
I'm compulsive, though. I'm compulsive. We know this.
I know. So now, while that is baking, we're going to make the filling because the great thing about lemon bars is as soon as the crust comes out of the oven, we can dump the filling right in. We don't have to wait for it to cool, and we can pop it right back in the oven. And Jen and I are going to try to keep the record going and keep this bake to under an hour. Let's see if we can do it.
I think we can do it. I think we can do this.
I'm as everyone knows,
All right, so I'm going off your timer as well.
So you can go ahead and get a separate bowl together for the filling, or you can also just go ahead and get a liquid measuring cup and do everything in one go. You don't have to have separate containers. It's completely up to you. I went ahead and because lemons take a long time to juice, Jen and I have already pre-juiced.
As I'm finishing.
Yeah, pre-juiced our lemons. Well, I'll keep gabbing for a second, so you'll be totally okay. We are going to go ahead. I'm going to go ahead and have a separate bowl here. In this bowl is some sugar. I've got 3/4 cup of sugar. Now, this is regular granulated or cane sugar. If you are trying to be a little bit better at home and you've got date sugar, coconut palm sugar, those kinds of sugars are totally okay to use here. The only difference is going to be is that because those are dark sugars, your bar filling will be darker because you're not using a white sugar. So just to be aware. But the taste will be the same, right? Because it's a sweetener. So depending on what you want to do.
Going straight up sugar.
So I've got regular cane sugar, 3/4 a cup, and we're going to add to that 3 tablespoons of flour. Just when you thought we were done with flour, we're not. We're going to use more flour. We're going to add this directly into the bowl. So I'm going to go ahead and take it, and I'm just going to go ahead and add it directly into the bowl. This is 3 tablespoons of flour. Going right in.
Just realized that was one I did not prep in advance, but that's okay.
We're going to add in a pinch of salt. And I think I talked about this before, but they call it a pinch because when you go into the salt bowl, you can go and grab it and just drop it in. It's a pinch. I actually have a random measuring spoon. I was very pleased to find that they actually measured out a pinch for me. A pinch is apparently 1/16 of a teaspoon if you want to be super, super exact. I'm going to go ahead and do that. If you're a little bit...
I did not know that.
Yeah, if you're a little bit more than a pinch, is it going to hurt? No, because remember, you're about to use a whole bunch of lemons that are tart. And I think a lot of like the flavoring, we've just put sugar in here. The saltiness, is that even a word? The salt.
Yes, saltiness is
saltiness
absolutely a word. Saltiness.
Okay, saltiness. I'm going to add the salt right in. We're going to have to correct my grammar today. My brain this week. Okay, so I've got the salt, I've got the sugar, I've got a flour. I'm going to go ahead and whisk that up. So that way it is combined.
All right, salt, sugar, and I did cornstarch because I saw in the recipe that you could do cornstarch as well.
You could do cornstarch as well. Yeah, if
right?
you've got cornstarch hanging out and you want to use that instead of flour, because as we know right now, flour is very precious. In this world of...
Did you see how much I had? I'm so sorry, people.
In this world, it's like, you know, if you can find. Aside from that, yeah, if you've got flour, use flour. If you've got cornstarch, use cornstarch. And for those who want to know how we've adapted this recipe, I adapted this recipe from a Starbucks recipe and a blog recipe. So Starbucks uses cornstarch, just so you want to know. If you wanted to know, like, things about Starbucks, if you wanted to figure that stuff out. We're going to use 3 eggs.
My banana bread came from Starbucks.
I know. 3 eggs for this recipe. I went really corporate on this, guys. 3 eggs for this recipe. Mine are cold directly from the fridge. Some people like using room temp eggs. It's completely up to you. It's how you feel about your eggs. We are not separating eggs today, so I really feel like it doesn't matter in this particular case, but we are adding them one by one. All right? So I'm going to go ahead and show you my bowl, my mess. I'm not wearing an apron. Again, much to the horror of Mary, who is fielding comments right now down below, and Sherry, who always chastises that we should be wearing aprons, and especially when flour is involved.
Oh, aprons?
Yeah.
I thought about it. I'm so sorry, Sherry. I'm so sorry.
I have not worn an apron the whole time, and it's now part of the shtick, so I'm just not wearing an apron. But I always complain after every single thing that I have flour all over me. So everyone at home, if you're baking along, flour is a good job. It's going to get you dirty. Wear an apron. So I'm going to go ahead and drop in my eggs, and I'm going to do them one at a time. So here's my bowl. I'm going to go ahead and mix these in one at a time. I like breaking my egg into a separate container because I like, just in case of shell breakage, I like being able to scoop out the shell. I just knock it once on the counter. It's completely up to you how you break your egg. I double check, make sure there's no eggshells. You can use the eggshells to pick up stray egg. And I'm going to dump that in to my bowl, and I'm just going to whisk. We're going to whisk one at a time, okay? So it's going to be really thick. It shouldn't be, I mean, look, it's like there's still a whole bunch of sugar on the side. That's fine. We're going to add more eggs. So I'm going to crack my next egg.
See, I will say I'm the queen of getting shell in my eggs, so I have to crack all in advance.
Oh, yeah. No, I mean, I'm surprised. So, like, right now, like, my egg is doing okay. I'm dumping that straight in. Mixing that. That's 2. You know, I forgot to set my timer. I just realized. I'm here right now.
For the crust?
Yeah. I'm the worst.
Okay, so we've only been on for 15 minutes, so that gives us a little bit of a time to go by.
Okay, cool. I'm going to do my 3rd egg.
Alex! Hello!
Hey, Alex! Okay, here's my 3rd
Just
egg.
happened to look up and see her.
And so I've been adding them one by one in the bowl, as you can see. And this is my 3rd one. I'm just adding that straight in. And now everything's starting to look a little bit liquidy, right? It's starting to look a little bit gooey. And the thing is that because this is going to be the filling, and this is all that's going to sit between the crust and the top of the bar, you kind of want it to be really blended well. Because if you have random bits of stray things, like sugar, crystallized, or such, it's going to show because the filling is so smooth. So I'm just going to, in this instance, I'm over whisking. I'm not even using a mixer. I'm just using a whisk and my elbow grease and this bowl. And that is egg, sugar, salt, a little bit of flour, and we're about to add some lemon juice. How are you doing, Jen?
I'm right there with you.
Hey, Ruby. I feel like we're having a little mini...
Hey, Ruby.
right now.
It is now the Atlantic reunion.
People from the theater. So hello, everyone.
So instead of charcuterie and wine, we're just going to do this over bacon.
I'm going to go ahead and grab my lemon juice. So this is a really aggressive amount of lemon juice, okay? It is 3/4 of a cup. It's about 3 lemons, give or take 3 lemons. Maybe you used 4. Maybe you've used 3.5. It's about 3.5 lemons. Traditionally, most recipes use about half a cup, which is about 2-3 lemons. We are going to amp up the lemon flavor, and I've added more juice into this recipe because why not? Can only make it better, guys.
I like it. I like it.
We're also going to add in 2 teaspoons of zest, and we're going to add on the juice and the zest into our mixture all at the same time. So I've got, again, about 3/4 cup, give or take. I used about 3-ish lemons. Jen used about 3.5. I'm just going to go ahead and take that, and I'm going to dump that straight into the bowl, along with about 2 teaspoons of zest, and that's probably about 1 or 2 lemons of zest, about. You can give or take a little bit more, a little bit less, depending on your lemony flavor. And we talked about the potential of fruit puree that you're going to dollop on top. And so we're just going to mix that all together. So here is my bowl.
Got it, kind of.
I'm going to take my juice. I'm just going to add that straight in. I thankfully strain out the seeds, and this is about 2 teaspoons of zest. And I'm going to dump right in. And we're just going to mix it together. I'm going to be a little bit careful. My bowl is not large enough. I picked a smallish bowl. And you want to incorporate that into your egg mixture, right? Jen's using an electric mixer. You can totally do that. You can go ahead.
Oh, I went hand this time. I actually did go hand. I'm following your lead.
Okay.
Because I think I got too much bubbles in it when I tried the electric mixer. I think hand does a better job.
I'm mixing my hand. It's coming together. It takes a second, but it should be really like liquidy, guys. I mean, it's pretty liquidy. But don't worry, because of the fact that we put eggs in this, that is going to provide a custard. So basically what you're making with these lemon bars is you're creating a custard in your lemon, with your lemon juice. That's going to go ahead and create that filling. And that's what's going to make it a little bit soft, but it's going to bake properly, right? Kind of in a lot of ways, in the same ways that you make any kind of like baked custard. So mine is pretty good. I mean, it's pretty well mixed, I think. And we're just going to go ahead and set that aside. And like that is it.
We got the bubbly.
We're just waiting for the crust to come out. So while that is happening, now it's raining. I hear the rain now. I don't know if anybody can hear it above my air conditioning.
It's stopped here now, and now we're sunny. So it's just moved its way from Queens to Brooklyn.
It's definitely raining in Brooklyn.
Yeah.
So, you know, that's...
Now it's like gloriously sunny.
I'm starting to put lots of my other things away. So what we've got left to go ahead and use is, we went ahead and said, hey, do you want to use an optional puree for these lemon bars? You do not have to do that. We're calling these lemon fruit bars because instead of the standard lemon that we're making with these, we're adding in an extra fruit, and it can be any fruit you want, right? Jen, what are you using? Ooh, raspberry.
Raspberry.
That's going to be delicious. So Jen's got a raspberry puree that she...
Thank you, Tall Day.
You need 1/3 of a cup if you want to use it. If you don't want to use it, don't worry about it. We do not have to worry about it. A lot of people also, I think, started using freeze-dried powders to impart flavor without adding liquid. You can do that as well if you wanted to dump some freeze-dried fruit that you've crushed up and you want to add into the flavor. I mean, blueberry would taste really good, raspberry, any mango. I don't know, like there's sort of like anything that you want to use. I went ahead and I made my own fruit. I cannot speak today. Fruit puree using peaches. I randomly had some frozen peaches that I wanted to get rid of. I went ahead and I put that on top of my stovetop for about 10 minutes with a tablespoon of sugar, a teaspoon of cornstarch. I mix that all up. I stick it in my blender after it was cooked, and it becomes this. Ta-da!
That sounds delicious.
Puree. That's all
delicious.
And it's just, what it is really is just a smooth cooked fruit, right? And what we're going to do with that is we're going to go ahead and dollop that on top of the lemon bars. So that is going to give us extra flavoring for it. If you wanted to add extra flavors for something like this, you could definitely also, yes, the homemade puree, Alex, was definitely extra. I mean,
Mine's store-bought,
I mean,
just gonna say.
I own up to that. I own up to that.
Yo, if I could have, I would have.
You can go ahead and dollop the puree. And I was just about to say it was like you can literally, if you didn't have enough lemons, you could have mixed up a whole bunch of citrus if you wanted. You can mix in limes. You can mix in grapefruit juice. Why not some orange juice, some clementines? Like any of this stuff, you can go ahead and mix in, and you just infuse the flavor. So it's not just like a lemon flavor. It will give you a whole.
I didn't even think about doing orange juice. That's brilliant.
I mean, why not? Right? We're making a custard out of fruit juice. So as long as the flavors all melt together correctly, it should be delicious. So I say, if this is the time for experimentation. If you don't have enough lemons at your house, and you have limes at random, use limes, you know? It's kind of like the time that Alex and I were making our alcoholic beverages. And we were making gimlet.
Oh, that's right. Barnett.
And, you know, we were talking about use lemons, use limes, use, you know, grapefruits, whatever, you know? So my timer is about to go off, I think, in the next couple of minutes.
I think, yeah, we're right at.
I'm going to just take a peek. What we want is we want the crust to be a lightly golden brown. It should look undercooked. I mean, it should not look cooked. If you have it completely cooked, this is a problem because we're going to burn the bottom of a crust. So we don't want that. We want it to be like lightly brown around the edges, kind of golden brown on top. That is the...
I think mine might almost be there.
I'm going to go ahead and take a peek. I think mine's there already. I'm taking mine out.
So here's what we have. I'll let you judge.
Oh, let me see.
Nope, too light.
Oh, I think no.
It's too light.
It's a little light, but it's golden around the edges, Jen.
I know, I've got the golden. And honestly, I think it's just the hot light coming in here that's making it look too light.
You can put it in for another 2 minutes or so if you think it needs a little bit more.
I might do 2 more.
I'm going to take mine out. I think mine is pretty done. Mine has some, like, mine's golden around the edges. See?
Oh, that's beautiful.
Mine's
yeah.
golden. So I'm taking mine out because I think if I put it in a little bit longer, it's just going to completely cook it.
No, that's perfect.
So I'm going to take a pot holder and put it on my workstation here where I have flour all over the place. Sorry, Sherry.
Because of the lack of apron.
Lack of apron. But I do have my filling. And I'm going to go ahead and take my filling and I'm going to pour it directly into the warm crust. And I'm going to put it back in the oven. And actually the oven, when we bake it, it's going to be at 325. You bake the crust at 350. Now we're lowering down the heat. So I'm going to go ahead.
Did you say we leave it at 350?
No, right? Putting it down to 325. And the reason why we're lowering down the heat is because it's a custard and you want it to be a slow bake. You don't want the custard to over bake. So we're putting the temperature down just a little bit. So it went from 350 for the crust because it's more of like a shortbready crust. I'm going to put that in quotation marks, shortbready crust. You're going to go ahead and put on top the filling. And I went ahead and, because it's been sitting here, the lemon juice is incorporated, it's gotten a little foamy on top. You can pour everything directly into the crust because what's going to happen, and this is the science and excitement of baking, is that the eggs that you've incorporated in it already will start to cook as soon as it hits the warm crust. And it's actually going to form a barrier layer for the custard as it starts to cook into your bar. So it prevents it from getting the bottom completely soggy. Like, how awesome is that? Like science stuff. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to dump said filling. Is your crust good, Jen? Have you dumped it?
My crust is good.
Okay,
yeah,
cool.
yeah. And I put the egg on top. I'm ready to dump.
All right, I'm going to go ahead. We're going to quickly dump our filling into the bars. And then we're going to take, I should get a spoon for this.
You just dump straight on?
Yeah. When we dollop, you don't have to be, I'm going to say it now because I'm going to be preoccupied with dolloping when we get to dolloping. When you dollop, you don't have to be pristine about it. You don't have to be exact about it. It doesn't have to be evenly spaced. This is completely rustic, right? You can even take a toothpick if you want a marbling look. And after you dollop, marble the puree into the bar. You don't even have to do that. You could just dump it as I use a spoon at the camera. Like, that just looks weird. I'm like pointing the spoon.
I'm just doing a little bit of a lattice. I don't know.
Yeah, you can do whatever you like. So I'm going to go ahead and give you guys a view of the crust that I made, okay? So this is my crust. I'm going to go ahead and pour the filling that I made, the lemon filling, directly on top. And like I said, the beauty of this is that the
lemon custard is already going to start cooking on top of your warm crust. And it's going to cause a little bit barrier. So it's not going to be super soggy at the bottom. I have my peach puree, and I'm just going to dump that dollop, I call them dollops, directly on. They'll sink a little bit because it's heavy. It is a puree, after all. Kind of evenly spaced, kind of not. This is about 1/3 of a cup.
All right.
If you like more, use more. If you want less, use less. Like it's not crazy. I have a toothpick.
So this was my, yeah.
I'm gonna use
my swirl.
Oh, nice. Ooh, that's pretty. I'm gonna kind of move it around, but I'm not gonna be bothered, and I'm not gonna even try to make a pattern. I'm just going to try to move them around so that way there's not like giant drops. Okay. So
that's gonna be so delicious.
I'm gonna go ahead and take this, and I had my
Ruby's. I know, Ruby. I'm feeling the same way. Heart eyes at that.
I'm gonna go ahead and grab. It's still hot. Don't pick up your pan. It's still hot. Ooh, I just realized that there's a little corner here that's not going to be even. That's going to drive my OCD wild. Okay, and you're just going to take this. I'm going to slide this back into the oven. Okay. Now, your oven should be about 325 degrees, okay? And we're going to bake for about, I want to say 15 minutes. We're going to check on it. I'm going to set
I put raspberry in mine, Ruby.
set my timer.
Oh, the timer this time.
I'm setting my timer about 15 minutes, and then we're going to go ahead and check on it. But like I said before, the puree is completely optional. If you like the purity of a lemon bar, and you're just like, Julian and Jen, what are you doing? You're ruining it. Lemon. Just keep it lemon. You don't have to be extra, right? You don't have to do all these things. There's like lots of options, I think, when you make certain things, when you're baking in general. If there's certain things you don't like Jen doesn't like nuts, so she didn't want to put a nut flour in her crust. Don't do it. Just use regular flour. You know, you don't want to add different fruit flavors. Maybe you want the purity of the lemon bar. Don't add the puree. Leave it alone. Just go straight lemon. At the end of this, when we take it out, we're going to have to refrigerate it and put it in the refrigerator to cool down, because that's the only way you're going to get that custard. I mean, you can, I suppose you can eat lemon bars warm out of the oven. They're just getting really mushy. I mean, that's the only caveat I would say, because your custard hasn't completely set, right? It needs the time to cool down. So you're going to put it in the fridge and you're going to let it sit for like 2 hours before you can actually eat them, which I know really like kills the heart of so many people out there that are like, I just want to eat my lemon bar. Well, now you have to wait.
Yeah.
But the beauty of this is the top. So we talk about like, you know, the stuff that you're putting in now. Afterwards, the traditional thing to do is powdered sugar, right? People just like, you know, you take a strainer, you put some powdered sugar on top, you make it like look like it snowed on top of your lemon bars, you're good. If you've got I've really enjoyed freeze-dried fruit. Anybody, you can buy them anywhere.
I have not done a lot with that.
Yeah, they sell them now. You can buy them at Target. Like they sell them in like the fruit and nut section. If you find them, freeze-dried fruit basically has taken all of the liquid out of the fruit. It is completely like powdery. Smash them up, and then you can go ahead and you can use that as a sprinkle for the top of your lemon bars instead of doing a powdered sugar. If you don't want to add sugar, right? Like for example, I was contemplating, and this is where you guys can give me honest feedback. I was contemplating, I have raspberry dried fruit, and I was thinking about mixing that in the flavor profile I have right now, which is peach and lemon, into the bars, or if everyone thought that might be a little too much. Discuss.
No, I think that'd be good. I think that would be good.
No, right? Because I was thinking,
I do.
It's just a hint.
I do.
Right? It's just a hint.
It'll be tart. I mean, it's just going to be a whole lot of tart, but then you got the peach to sweeten it.
That's true. So I went and I crushed up. I've got some freeze-dried raspberries that I've crushed up that I'm going to use to sprinkle on top of my lemon bars when they come out, when everything is chilled and cool. Not before, right? If you add the powdered sugar right out of the oven when it's hot and you stick it in your fridge, when you take out your lemon bars, yeah, it's just going to soak in the sugar. And then you're going to look at it and you're like, what happened to the powdered sugar? It doesn't exist.
Yeah.
Because it just got
made that mistake.
It just got melted in. So try not to, every time I do not, avoid eating straight from the oven. Yeah. Yeah, this is the only time I do not advocate. Yeah, Mary.
I'm curious if this one's custarded up.
Yeah, so Mary,
See,
our
it's
science
gotta
expert,
work.
is advocating to not eat the lemon bar straight out of the oven. This is the one time she will advocate for that. And I really do, because it's going to feel jiggly. It's kind of like if anyone's ever made a cheesecake at home, or even just making a regular custard, right? It's going to be jiggly. It's not going to be completely set. And the beauty of the lemon bars, when you cut them, you know, and everything is solid, right? If you cut them now, it's just going to splatter apart a little. It's going to be, I mean,
yeah.
Again, this is America, right?
The first time I did it, I actually made that mistake, and then I thought that I had completely messed up the recipe, and it was just not letting them chill in the refrigerator.
Yeah.
So.
See, you just gotta let it set. I would say probably about 2 hours, unless you like eating hot lava. Yeah, that's true, Mary.
Patience is not always.
It's really hard. I mean, I think the number one.
When I want the dessert, I want the dessert.
The number one thing that is always hard for me, I will be honest, is we've had discussions about cookie dough, and I refrigerate cookie dough 24 hours. I like how it concentrates the flavor. I like how it solidifies the butter so that when I bake it, everything spreads evenly. And it is always hard for me when I want a cookie right that instant that I cannot have it even though I've just made the dough because I have to wait. That always gets me.
Technically you can,
yeah.
if you just allowed yourself to move past your own rules.
True. Or you can circumvent all that stuff and be like Julianne and just have cookie dough in her freezer at all times. And then you can always have cookies whenever you want.
There you go.
So,
it's like mug cake. We know that mug cake is wrong, but we do it anyway because we want cake in 30 seconds.
Oh, that's true. You know what I was thinking to myself? I think it'd actually be really fun. We're going to have to do it one of these weeks. As apparently I continue to do this. This is week 10, guys. We are on week 10 of doing this.
We thought we'd be back at work.
I know. Are we ever going back to work? I don't know. Week 10, like it's one thing over the other, right? I feel like 2020 has just become one of those years where every month just keeps going. Mud cake, Alex.
What is mud cake?
It's like a microwave cake, Alex. You basically take like your cake mix and like instead of baking it in the oven, you just pop it in the microwave for like 30. Would you say 30 seconds to like a minute, Jen? About.
Yeah.
And then you have like a cake, a microwavable cake.
There's lots of like microwavable desserts people are doing now, different variations, but the chocolate one is the one I've always done. Just chocolate mud cake. It looks like a little souffle as it rises up.
What I like too is you make it in the microwave, but it doesn't actually take that long to make. Is chocolate lava cakes, and not the traditional chocolate lava cake, because you know those chocolate ganache cakes you can get at restaurants, where when you cut it open and you see the chocolate melt out. Those are the chocolate ganache cakes. Those take a little bit more time because you have to like freeze the ganache, you have to like plop them into like the whatever. I was watching, and I think we've talked a little bit about. I love Nigella Lawson, and she makes this chocolate molten cake that you basically undercook your cake just a little, and it becomes melty in the middle. But you've cooked it, guys. Don't think it's like you're eating raw cake. You cooked it. The outside gets cooked, the middle still a little bit raw, and it feels like you're eating a melted chocolate.
It's like that molten lava. I'm embarrassed to say it, but Chili's had the best molten lava cake.
Alex.
And it was the same thing. It was that little flying saucer, and you kind of crack it open, and it would just be a little raw. No, Alex, it's
like in a mug, Alex. You're not gonna actually make a whole cake, like in a cup or a bowl. Usually, it's like in a cup. It's like I want to say cupcake, but that's not what it would be. It's you make it in a mug. You basically make it in a mug. I don't know if anyone's ever watched like those like weird cooking shows where like they've got 30 minutes to cook and someone's like, I'm gonna make a cake, and everyone's like, don't do it, don't make this cake, you're like gonna fail. And then they go, I'm gonna make it in the microwave, and then everybody thinks to themselves, that was such a smart move, now you're making dessert because you make it in the microwave. And then they decide to make their own like homemade ice cream, and then it becomes like a whole thing. So
now that's one thing I've not tried is homemade ice cream. I do want to do something like that.
Oh, homemade ice cream is fun. You have to use a lot of milk and cream. Custard bases, I feel like, are a little bit more stable. But I know that Mary, who is on this right now, hey Gina, on this right now, has made a coconut milk ice cream. And in that case scenario, I believe you don't have to wait to go ahead and chill the mixture. But you can correct me.
Yeah, because I have some coconut milk. That would be lovely.
Yeah. For Gina,
I just
and for
realized I
anybody
should
else
have
that has
charged
just
my
joined,
phone.
we have already put our lemon bars in the oven. We are waiting for it to bake. It's going to take us, my timer says I've got another 7 or 8 minutes before we're checking on it. However, it's going to give or take about 15 to 20 minutes total. So we've created all those things to make in a lemon bar. Jen and I are trying to get under an hour. We're going to figure out if we can do this or not. We shall see. We shall see. We are so. I'm
We're gonna make ice cream. That's amazing.
Yeah, Mary, I don't know.
We're gonna have to
if you had a
relocate
particular
because
recipe
we're gonna die.
that you were using for the coconut milk ice cream, if you wanted to share with everybody. But most of the time we make ice cream bases, and this is the deviation we have gone from. We have gone from lemon bars to talking about ice cream. When you make ice cream bases, if you've got an ice cream machine, you typically want your ice cream base to be cold, right? Because you're going to put it in the machine is going to keep on turning. And though the machine is cold itself, it's going to help your ice cream crystallize better and freeze better if it's cold. So I made a mistake the very first time I made ice cream. I took it right off the stove and I tried to stick it into the ice cream machine, and it just mixed like water. It was like liquid the whole time, except for the outside that became icy. And that's because I didn't refrigerate, and cool down my base. So that's just a heads up to anybody that's planning on making homemade ice cream, which we have the time to do it. We're in the middle of all these things that are happening in our world, be it pandemics,
We have time.
curfews, be it anything that's happening. 2020, I mean, 2020, you were killing me, 2020. However, we, as I was telling Jen, this is week 10. This is 10 weeks now that I've been baking on a Saturday. I don't know about you, Jen, but like, usually for me, baking is very soothing in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
I think it's a nice time for like a mental break. Sometimes you need a little bit of a time to kind of just concentrate on something else, to kind of recharge yourself, to sort of take a break from life and just, do that. And I think that's the great thing about doing stuff like this, like baking, or even us baking together and having a chit chat about baking, is that for like 1 second, we can take a moment to not think about all the other things that are going out in the world right now, recharge ourselves, and then after this is all over, go back out in the world and do your thing, and you fight for your inequality, and you stay home and don't, so you don't infect people with COVID, and you do all these kinds of things. But for like this moment, for like these couple minutes, we can sit here, we can chit chat, we can bake lemon bars that we're not going to be able to eat when they come out of the oven, which just makes me so happy.
This is why I baked a batch 2 hours ago.
I know.
Specifically so I could have some. No, I love baking. To me is very meditative. Like you're saying, it's something that I can lose myself in. It's not mindless, but it is just it's meditative for me. But yeah, I love getting to do this. I love when we got to do the crust a couple of weeks ago, just you and I, learning how to make pie crust through this.
Yeah, for those things. Oh, thank you, Alex. I'm glad you've learned stuff through my babbling. Because
no, you have a wealth of knowledge. We've talked about this. All of us have talked about this with you multiple times. I think I'm so glad to see you actually pursue doing your own show.
do your own little show.
Doing your own show.
Pandemic baking here into this.
This is a show.
It is. Mary is right. That is a great term.
It is therapy.
It is therapy for your mind, but not for your waistline. That is true.
No, see what you do is you just give all your baked goods away to your neighbors.
That's true. So everybody, I think
someone
asked me recently, what do you do with all the baked goods that you make? Are you just eating them all by yourself? Because it's not like I've got a family of 4 that is with me right now, right? So what do you do with all that stuff? And my answer always used to be, I used to bring it, Gina knows if she's still on, I used to bring it to work. Whenever I baked, I would leave it on a counter and just be like, have at it, and go about my day. Because you only really want a brownie, a lemon bar, a cookie. You don't want 20 of them. Well, sometimes you want 20 of them. Let's be real. But depending on what it is. And these days, in kind of our sort of new reality, I've been freezing a lot of baked goods. You can do that even after you've made them. Not even you can freeze it in the process of it. You can freeze it during. You can freeze it after. And I've been doing this really great thing with friends of mine in Brooklyn, where we have a food exchange every few weeks. And everyone brings savory, delicious foods.
I know, not these days.
And
Mary.
I always give them a huge bag of baked goods and make everyone eat all the sugar. I'm like, you're welcome, guys. I'm not the only one being a sugar.
They don't hate that. They don't hate it at all, I'm sure.
I'm like, take my bag of like sugar and put it in your freezer if you're not gonna eat it all now. But like, I am like single-handedly giving you sugar throughout this whole thing. So
My poor neighbors are suffering right now because they are the only ones at this moment that I can get my baked goods to. That and my neighbor, or not my neighbor, my roommate.
yeah.
That the best thing is just to have like a guy as a roommate because they apparently eat everything.
Yeah, no, that's true. And you know,
Duh, I just leave a dozen cupcakes out and they're gone.
yeah, like that's the thing. It's like people are like, oh no, you know, they're not gonna want to eat it. Yeah, they are. Yeah, they are. Someone offered me it, but like someone knocked on my door right now, and they're like, I made extra cookies. Do you want some? Yes, give them to me.
Yes, I do.
Especially now that I have
Haven't
to
you
wait 2
know?
hours for my lemon
Thank
bars.
you. Yeah.
But Gina apparently is making a gingerbread bun that she wanted. Yes, yeah, you can totally freeze your
Ooh.
gingerbread bun. After you make it, Gina, you can do one of two things. You can freeze the whole thing. You can cut them into slices and freeze individual slices as well. So like, let's say you want to have like a slice like 3 weeks from now. If you take it out of the freezer and you let it come to room temp, that slice of gingerbread will taste exactly like you did the day that you baked it. The thing with frozen baked goods though is they do have a shelf life. Like it might not necessarily be good 6 months from now, but 2 or 3 months from now, still good. You know what I mean? So
yeah.
Lemon bars, I don't know if
Have you ever shipped baked goods before?
have I shipped them? I've shipped cookies before, but you put those like in airtight like tins and containers. And I don't like shipping ground for that kind of stuff. Like I do like at least a 2-day, because the longer your baked goods sits out like on a counter, the drier everything becomes. And the only reason why cookies like in stores and things like don't do that is because they add preservatives to it. But if you're making it straight out, you know, and I like to bring my cookies, I freeze everything and then stick it in the container. And it'd be even better if you go ahead and take like a freezing pack and stick it like in with your box and ship that, because and we've had this discussion before, you can freeze cakes, you can freeze cookies, you can freeze brownies, you can freeze bread, you can freeze, there's so many things you can freeze. And again, anything that has to be individually sliced, like cake or bread, slice it before you freeze it, because obviously you're going to have to wait for it to get to room temp. So if you just wanted a slice and you froze a whole cake, you're going to have to wait for the whole cake to
the whole
and
cake.
you have to refreeze the whole cake, and it just becomes a thing. And you know,
That is
right.
genius. I don't know why I've always done the entirety, and I have never sliced before freezing. Alex, you're right. It is genius. I've never even thought of that.
And you're right. And if you have a tiny
Seriously.
freezer, just like
Then you have to thaw the entirety of it, and you're like, I don't want to eat all of this now, and you can't refreeze.
no, and you can't refreeze. Exactly. And you know, if you have like a smallish freezer, like most of us do, probably like living in New York, we don't have like gargantuan freezers.
Or cohabitating. Yeah.
You're gonna have to like make space, and then now if it's sliced, you can stack them. You can put them in like different corners. You don't have to keep them all in like one piece, right? So that's just like a thing. With lemon bars, with these, I would say you're gonna have to keep them refrigerated. Do not leave them on the counter. They have to be refrigerated, because remember, there's an egg custard happening here. Do not leave them on the counter, because they're just not going to. They always have to kind of be kept cool. Is the best way to say it. So I would say single layer probably, because if you stack them, they will probably mush into each other because of the weight. So single layer, I would go ahead and do, and just like stick them in the fridge, and they'll probably be good for at least like 3 days, 3 days, 4 days. I don't think I've ever tried freezing custard. I mean, ice cream gets frozen, so I wouldn't be surprised if you could freeze lemon bars.
Yeah, I don't know. I was just trying to figure. My mom wants them in Puerto Rico, and I'm like, how am I going to ship you lemon bars?
That might be. The egg content in that wouldn't worry me. My timer went off. Did your timer go off?
I'm going off your timer.
I'm gonna take a peek.
Because I put mine in at the exact same time
I
as you.
always check mine under the time the recipe says, because everyone's ovens are different, right? So it's better to check early, just not do anything, than check late and realize they're burnt. So I'm gonna take a look. Mine needs more time. Mine has definitely not set. It probably needs at least another 5 minutes.
So I'm going to ask your opinion on this, but this means I'm going to have to move this phone again. Because I think mine has set.
Is yours set? Oh. It should just jiggle just a little in the middle. Oh yeah, that's good. Now I'm wondering if I was basing it on color. Let me take mine out real quick.
Yeah, well, I wonder, with the mango, if it's, or not the mango, but the peach.
Oh Jen, it's a good thing you said that. So mine looked underbaked. I was just like, I don't know, I don't think I should take it out. And now I'm like jiggling it, and it's just a little bit, but not much. So I'll show everybody. Ta-da!
That's pretty.
So now this is the hard part. We're gonna have to refrigerate these babies. So
how long do you usually let it cool before you put it in the fridge?
I would try to let it get to room temp just a little bit, because you don't want, and I feel like Mary, I'm glad Mary's on, our science expert Mary. When you put really hot things in the refrigerator, and this is anything, like regular food, you cause the growth of bacteria if it's still too hot.
Yeah.
So you always kind of want any of the food that you put in to be room temp, right? So it has to be cool room temp before you actually put it in the fridge, because if not, you're going to welcome the growth of bacteria, and you don't want that. Yeah. So I would actually probably let this cool down on the counter on like a wire rack, or like on a, like a little pad, just to get it to room temp. And then after that, stick that in your fridge about 2 hours. Just chill it enough so everything sets, because what you're going to do is, when this is all done, you can use the parchment paper that you put on, lift it out of the pan, and use that to cut, put it on top of a cutting board and cut it into squares. And it can be any size squares you want, right? Because, it's, if you wanted to not even cut it and eat the entire square pan yourself.
This is a square. Or 4 squares,
I don't think I could judge, right? I don't think I could judge. Otherwise, I think you could probably make 12 to 16, like 12 to 16 out of this.
Yeah.
I cannot wait to see how it turned out. And again,
I'm pretty excited.
Once they're cool, cut them into squares. That's beautiful. I think the raspberry splattering is beautiful. Cut them into squares.
Well, all I did was with the spoon was just the.
And just exactly. I just went ahead and I dollop, like I told you guys, I just dolloped. And what you're gonna do is cut them, put some powdered sugar on top, serve them, save them, single layer in the fridge, about 3 days.
So you're gonna take the raspberry and you'll do that in lieu of the powdered sugar?
So I'm gonna go ahead and take my raspberry powder for anybody that cares or has freeze-dried fruit at home. You can use the powder, the freeze-dried powder, and use that to go ahead and like decorate, or you can add that with the powdered sugar and do a mixture of it, and then add that on top. So you've got the fruit and the sugar, but I would say less sugar, obviously. The fruit's going to carry enough sweetness that I think it'll be okay, or you can completely omit the sugar. But what's going to be nice is powdered sugar, when it sits on something for too long, like baked goods, it's going to start sucking in the powdered sugar, and your lemon bars, tomorrow, like you put powdered sugar today, tomorrow the powdered sugar will evaporate from the lemon bar. If you have something like a fruit, powder on top, that color is going to stay, right? It's going to stay on top of your lemon bar. So
okay,
we're done. Jen and I are finished. This is very exciting.
Did we do this under an hour?
We did. It's 3:54. Jen and I have made lemon bars today. We did a 2-part process. We did a custard, we did a crust. I've taken it out of the oven, and I'm glad that Jen said something, and she went ahead and said, maybe I should not, because it looked to me, I was like, it looks really yellow. I'm just going to take it out.
Mine's done. I don't know.
This would be mine, and that is Jen's, and we are so done. And I'm very excited. If you guys make these lemon bars at home yourself.
So this is the 2-hour wait.
We're going to have to wait 2 hours, but 2 hours from now, I will take a photo of said lemon bars. I will post them on the Instagram so you guys can see the fruits of our labor. And if you guys do the same, like always, please tag Jen, please tag me. Let us know how they ended up tasting, because this is an amalgamation of recipes that I was telling Jen. I took like a whole bunch of recipes and took the best and cherry picked the best of all the recipes I saw.
The best way to do it.
Created like a recipe. So this is the first time I've made it. Like if it comes out badly, we'll know about it.
It's gonna be perfect.
I know. You can tag like, it looks nice, doesn't taste good, Julianne. Bad.
You can't taste from a picture.
You're like, that looks like it's good. Mine didn't taste good. Right? So, but I hope this was a good break for you. Thank you, Jen, for
having me.
Coming in and baking like these. I would never have thought of making lemon bars if it wasn't for Jen, who mentioned, these kinds of things. To me, thanks to Mary, as always, for being the commentary guru at the bottom and answering all the science questions.
I'm learning things. I know. Thank you, Mary.
Thanks to everybody that just went ahead and took a time out of their day, of their Saturday, to come and listen to us gab and to bake something and to kind of rest your mind for a second before, like I said, you go back out there, you fight for inequality, you stay home because of the pandemic and all these other things that are happening in the world. So thank you very much. Stay safe. We will see you next time, next Saturday. Haven't decided yet what we're going to make. It's probably going to be chocolate. I have a feeling. Otherwise, that is it.
Do the cake you were just talking about.
What was? Oh, I know. We should probably do maybe it's like a chocolate mold. Maybe we'll do like a chocolate molten cake. That could be fun.
One of those like melty.
Yeah, like everyone has to have like ramekins and like individual containers. So that's the only bad thing about it is if you don't have those kinds of things, it's gonna be a wash. Rochelle wants sticky toffee. Oof, that is a bold one to try to make in an hour.
Ooh.
I mean, it could be doable, maybe. I'd have to really research this.
I think you do. No, I think you do.
We're gonna have to think about this.
See request about.
Oh, jeez.
Just gonna keep saying.
This is
nice.
I like it.
I like
it. Thing. Anyways, but thank you again. I'll see you next week. Have a lovely Saturday, everybody, and stay safe. Okay. Bye. Goodbye, everyone.
Bye, everybody. Thank you.